Well, hi there. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Along with Debbie Georgiani, I am Jerry Usher, and the show team in place. Michael Birchfield, our producer. Jeff Burson is on social media. Ryan Penny answering your calls. And Debbie, I hope that you had a great weekend. A lot of news and things going on the weekend that we were all trying to keep up with, right?
A lot of news. It was like a full-time job this weekend, Jerry. It was so much coming across social media and on the regular local news and the national news. Wow, it was a very active weekend. Not all good, I may add. In fact, there's only one news piece that I really even liked. The rest was pretty depressing.
That's our topic today, dear Take Two family. What have you seen? What has caught your attention? What has struck you as odd or bad or beautiful or good in the news recently? We do this show about once a month. So we're asking what you have seen in the news that really caught your eye and that you want to talk about today at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
We titled the show Overlooked in the News. So if you turn on the mainstream media, any form of it, or however you get your news, you'll see that there's the national and world stories that just keep circulating, right? And they're very big on everybody's minds in the news world. But then there's the ones that are overlooked, those that are local. They surround you, maybe your state, something's going on in your state, or they're just not of interest to the mainstream media because maybe it affects Catholics. What do you go figure that one? And so they don't want to report on that. Well, we think it's important, and as Catholic Christians, we should make each other aware of things that are happening so that we can have eyes wide open as things continue to change in our world, especially as a Christian. So let's talk about it. If you've had something that came across your computer this weekend, or even your cell phone, and you said, wow, that's an interesting story. I wonder if anybody's going to cover it. We will. All you got to do is call in 833-288-3986.
Yeah, and I have something that I have picked out here. Debbie, you may have heard about this. We have adjoining states. I live in California, and you there in Arizona.
Yes.
And what many people may not know is that our Governor Gavin Newsom here has now not only banned church gatherings in the church buildings and even outdoor church services, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken about that, but he has banned all indoor Bible studies, prayer groups, fellowship meetings. So you can't even gather with your friends. Say you have some friends over for dinner and you want to read a little bit of a scripture. I guess that's illegal now. And, there's been a lot of talk about whether gathering together in the Lord's name is essential, if church is essential. Matthew 18:20 says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. And Hebrews 10:25 talks about not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So these are some of the places that Hebrews passage, I believe, is especially where we get the obligation to go to Mass on Sunday. Of course, that's dispensed now because of the circumstances, but it shows the essential nature of that. And here in my state, I don't know about how that's unfolding in your state, Debbie, but in my state, people can't even now gather for Bible studies, prayer meetings, or fellowship of any kind.
Okay, we did not hear that here in Arizona. So let me ask you this question because I'm just shocked about that. There's going to be people knocking on your door. I mean, how are they going to police that? Are they going to knock and say, Jerry, do you have people in there, and are you opening the Bible? And what are they going to do, sit outside on the street and watch people walk in with Bibles?
No idea how they plan to enforce that, other than maybe, the tattletale routine. If your neighbors peek through the blinds and see 8 or 10 people going into your house carrying Bibles. I don't know. I don't know if that's the way it's going to be or not, but this is just ridiculous because in the same act, the same statement, the same bill, if you will, or directive from the governor, he not only allows, but he encourages large protests. So, I mean, for those who look at this and say, how can you not see the absolute incongruity of this is just unbelievable.
Yeah, that is amazing. So do you know if he's received any pushback from that yet, or no? Is it just still new?
Well, there is a group called the Liberty Council, and they are going to file a lawsuit on behalf of an Hispanic pastor who he's part of a church network that represents about 42,000 churches nationwide.
Oh, wow.
So there is a legal battle forthcoming on this, and you'd have to think anybody with any right thinking at all is going to be able to see through this and is going to strike this down. Let's hope and pray that is the case.
Right. That's like something you'd hear about. I even shudder to say it. It's something like you'd hear in communist China. No,
yeah.
Seriously, it really is.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, that was one of my articles I was going to bring up. I've got 3, but the phone lines are starting to light up, so that means you have things you want to share in the news that maybe didn't rise to the level of national news. Well, we want to hear about it, so please call in at 833-288-3986. This is Overlooked in the News show. We do it once a month now. It's very popular. Some folks like to just email the news article in. You can do that. Take 2 at EWTN.com. You can also text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. And there you go. You can text YouTube, Facebook. We're waving to you. You can put your comments there, share your news story. And yeah, I don't know, Jerry, maybe you shouldn't have started with that story because it's really bothering me. That's just really bothering me. Because, I mean, how would they, you're right. It would have to be some kind of somebody tattletaling, right? It would have to be that way because how are you going to police it? Yeah, that's just disturbing.
Much, yeah.
Wow. I hope, I pray, thank goodness for that pastor that is launching that lawsuit or whatever he's going to do, or the filing a complaint. I think that we need to do more of that to have our voices be heard as Christians.
Yeah, let's hope and pray that some bishops join in on that, Catholic bishops and so forth. There's obviously strength in numbers, but it really is just complete discrimination against Christians and those who want to worship God. And so they're tightening the screws a little bit right now. It's a great time to be, as individuals, praying and whenever possible, meeting together, coming together for worship, for prayer, for Bible studies, for Mass when we can. And some of these things are being stripped away from us right now. So a lot to talk about today. We got Michaeline and Gina on the line, and we got a couple of open phone lines for you to share with us what's on your mind, on your heart, some news that you saw maybe fly under the radar over the last week or two. 833-288-3986. It's your show. Let's do it.
Hello, Journey Home family. Next time, we'll welcome back Dr. Brian Bisong to the program. Dr. Bisong is a former Baptist and Presbyterian, and will share what led him to embrace the Catholic faith. Share the journey next time on EWTN's The Journey Home.
The Journey Home with Marcus Grodi is seen and heard around the world on EWTN. Join us tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on EWTN Radio and Television.
Here's today's quote from Mother Angelica's Perpetual Calendar. We all have some aspect of our Lord's life that we're attracted to. And if we're attracted to it, then we try to reflect it. Is that all? To reflect like a mirror? No. We all grow brighter and brighter. For what reason? To be turned into the image we reflect. Mother Angelica's Perpetual Calendar is available from the EWTN Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
Hi, this is Debbie Georgiani.
And I'm Jerry Usher.
Have you joined our Inspired by Faith book club yet? Log on to standtalltoday.com and click on the book club tab.
Our facilitator, Gigi, picks a great book each month for us to read together.
Then we have a virtual conversation about it at the end of the month.
It's a great way to make sure spiritual reading is part of your daily life.
Again, go to standtalltoday.com and follow the link to register for the Inspired by... This is our In the News show here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is where we look at all the news stories that have come in the past, make them kind of current, folks, because we try to stay very, very relevant, and that's really important. And so, if it's been in the last couple days or a week, we really want to hear what's going on in your area of the world. Real quickly, Jerry, I just want to share before we get to Gina and Michaeline, and there's room for you if you want to call in and share a news story, or you want to talk about something, 833-288-3986. Okay, so talking about communist China, this came out of a Christian headlines site, and it says, this is the title of the article, Jerry, and this was over the weekend. Renounce Christ or lose government assistance, China's low-income Christians are told. So they have to renounce Christ, take the images. They have images in their house that are Christian symbols. They have to remove them and put up the leaders, the communist leaders, or they will lose their assistance, their government assistance. And these are people that need the assistance. They're low-income folks, and they are really struggling. So that happened this weekend. Then, I don't know if you heard about the Fort Lauderdale incident at the airport there. Apparently, 3 young girls were upset to hear that their flight was delayed from Florida to Pennsylvania. Now, Jerry, you and I travel for a living, the work that we do. We've heard that many times, your flight is delayed. And apparently they got so upset that they started throwing water bottles, and then they eventually attacked the crew, the staff at the airport. They broke the barriers and started punching, I guess, the flight attendant who's doing the airport duty. Can you believe that? They were arrested. Go ahead.
I can believe it, but on the other side, I can't, because I believe it because these kinds of wacky things are going on now, but I can't believe it because the very last place on earth that I would make trouble is in an airport terminal right about now.
Right. I
So what
cannot
happened to them?
They got arrested.
Oh, what do you know?
They got arrested, all 3 of them.
And
And
released
then
right away, I suppose.
I don't know if they were released. I'm going to check up on that. That was just this weekend. But this was really disturbing, and it pertains directly to us as Catholics. This came out of the Catholic Herald. More than 100 U.S. Catholic schools are closing, and it could get worse due to the pandemic and everything. More than 100 Catholic schools. That is not good. And there's other articles as well, but we want to hear from you. 833-288-3986. And please, when you share something, also share what we can do about it. Oh, we just got word from one of our Take Two family listeners, said they saw that article about the Florida airport, and they said they were also punching and kicking the airline staff. Punching and kicking. And aren't there cameras everywhere in airports?
Yeah.
So they clearly came unhinged.
Well, next time their pilot will be on time, I guess.
I don't know.
My goodness. I'd ask what the world is coming to, but I think we all know by now.
Yeah. They got a lot of energy, though, I'll tell you that. It was like a real brawl. It was horrible to watch. There's a video, by the way. There is a video.
Oh,
okay.
Terrific.
Yeah, everyone can see it. I was thinking about the children. Can you imagine how traumatized the children must have been seeing that in the airport? I mean, here they probably were coming from summer vacation, the little bit of a vacation they possibly could have, during this pandemic, and they've got to witness that. I mean, that's traumatizing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, where are we going?
All right. 833-288-3986. We're just talking about stuff that's in the news that you may not have heard about. Well, I mean, obviously, you need to have heard about it to share it with us, but maybe the rest of us haven't heard about it. 833-288-3986. So we can tie all this into our faith as well. And we're going to start with Gina in Cleveland, listening on The Rock to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Gina. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Doing pretty well today, thank you. How are you?
Good. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Gina.
Interesting. I'm driving, and hi. I wanted to share this with you all, but I was waiting for a proper topic. This isn't exactly a specific news thing, but this is something that happened that is a response to it. This is what a group of us are doing about it. I have a very dear friend who's very, very frustrated with all the stuff in the media that comes across, the misinformation, and all the stuff going on with Black Lives Matter. People don't realize that their mission statement really violates the nuclear family, and even the stuff going on with all the violence. And then whether you're pro or against Trump, the man could cure cancer and he'd be chastised. So, I mean, it's just all this stuff that's going on. And, of course, we're very, very strong pro-life. And so I texted her back. She was just so frustrated. And I texted her back and I said, Judy, I said, you can't stand this, because she says, I can't stand this. I said, you can't stand it. We have to kneel. I said, we have to bring this to God. So she texted back and said, you know what? I need to fast more. I haven't fasted enough. I haven't done it since Lent, and I need to really do it. And I said, I'll do it with you. Well, from that came a group that we've now started. We put together. We're called Prayer Warriors for Freedom and Truth. The Immaculate Conception is our patroness. I took a prayer by Cardinal Spellman for the United States of America under the patronage of the Immaculate Conception, and I modified it a little bit specifically to address those issues, to address the importance of family, pro-life, the whole idea of truth in everything, truth in media. Our pews are empty and whatever. I'd like to send that prayer to you. Unfortunately, I'm in the car, so I can't read it to you, but I'd love to send it to you. She's having prayer cards made. She's contacted her church women's ministry, and now there's about 20 women that are involved, and then I have some people that are involved. So there's probably about 35 or 40 of us already doing this, and this is about a week in existence. So the Holy Spirit is blessing this, and what we're asking people to do is every Wednesday and Friday to make that a special day of prayer with Our Lady as the patroness, and to perform, to say some extra prayers, and also to perform an act of self-denial. Now, we started off with fasting, but we know not everybody can do that. So it can be fasting from TV or computer. It could be fasting from food. It could be an act of kindness. It could be a holy hour. Whatever it is, it's some form of self-denial. But replace whatever that is with extra prayer. So if I'm going to fast from food or fast, then I replace that with some spiritual reading or some extra prayer time or some time before our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament, something like that. And I would love to send you that. I could email it to you. And I don't know that you would be willing to promote it, but I would encourage people to we need to just get on our knees, because there's so much corruption and dishonesty and misguided information and so much tension. All this rioting that happens is foolish. People have attacked the 9/11 monument. Churches have been attacked in California. And what you just said about the airport, that's insane. This whole sense of entitlement that people have, this whole sense of relativism. If it's okay for me, it doesn't matter whether it's okay for anybody else. You know, this total disregard for each other. And so anyway, this is what we're doing about it.
Yeah, Gina, please do email that to us at take2@EWTN.com. And I can say this in reference to Debbie, not myself, but you and Debbie, great minds think alike. Because Debbie and here on the program, we have recently been advocating for just what you're talking about on Wednesdays and Fridays, doing prayer and fasting in the manner that we would say on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, meaning the rules that apply on those particular days. And I think we have loosely heard from about 800 people who are doing that. We'd love to hear about your group that's doing that. And just the one thing that I'm not sure that you mentioned, but you probably know this in your mind. You mentioned the tension, the division, and all of this. We also have demonic activity on the face of the earth, maybe unlike ever before. I don't know. I'm not going to say that because I haven't lived all the entire, earthly history of mankind. But we know that Jesus was not only a praying man, he was the God man, but Jesus fasted. Jesus saw the importance of fasting. Remember, he fasted 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, and then it says he was hungry. And then Jesus heals the young boy from seizures, and his disciples in Matthew 17 say, why couldn't we drive it out? And he says, because you have so little faith. Truly, I tell you, if you have its faith, I'm sorry, that's the wrong passage. He says some demons are only driven out by prayer and fasting. I pulled up the wrong passage there. But anyway, Gina, I'm rambling on. What do you think?
Absolutely. And that's exactly where this is coming from, is that we need to, prayer is not enough, we need to fast. But we know, we have a very dear friend who happens to be diabetic. She can't fast. Or she can do a modified fast. And there are people that are older that maybe they for whatever reason, or people will say, yeah, I want to fast, but then they can't do it. They don't have the self-will to do it. So we're just we're pushing fasting, but we're encouraging any act of self-denial. But fasting would obviously the one that's the one that Jesus said we need to do.
Right. Gina, please email us, take2@ewtn.com when you have a chance. And we'll happily, after we review everything, we'll happily, if you give us permission, put it on our Facebook page, Jerry and Debbie, where a lot of our prayer warriors are checking in on a regular basis. And they are doing the same thing, for reparations for their own sins, the sins of the world, offenses against the Sacred Heart, offenses against the Immaculate Heart. I mean, so many. We have so many folks thinking in the same direction, and you're spot on. Prayer and fasting, and very intense, very intentional fasting, very important. We know that. We know how important that is to God. So Gina, way to go. Thank you for leading that ministry. Let's stay in touch. Let's do this. There's strength in numbers. And you know what? I love how you said you're prayer warriors for freedom and truth. And that is so powerful. And the truth will set you free. That's biblical, and God says it, and we need to stand in truth. And that's why we do shows like this. We just want to put out the facts. No agendas, nothing like that, the facts, and let everybody decide. Right, Gina?
Absolutely. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I gave I sometimes give evenings of recollection and things like that, but I gave one on, it was a Lenten, anticipation of Lenten, on and fasting was part of it. And what people don't understand about fasting is that, or anything that you give up during Lent, the whole idea is if 40 days after Lent starts, you're just like that Sunday, Easter Sunday, you're just piling in all that chocolate because you gave it up during Lent. Somehow, if you haven't changed somehow, something's missing. And I think part of that is, and people told me this when I said this, I said, you know what, if you're giving something up, then replace it with something spiritual. Replace it with prayer. Replace it with an act of kindness. Replace it with a spiritual reading. Replace it with some scripture reading, reflection, meditation. We need to do that, and I don't think people understand. I give this up for Lent, but I'm not doing anything otherwise. And I say the same thing. I've been an educator for 30 years, and I say to people, when you correct, you need to redirect. You just correct a child, and you don't tell them what they need to do instead. I happen to be a dog trainer, and when you train dogs, you don't just say no. You redirect the dog, so you let the dog know what it can do that's acceptable. And the same thing with, so it's like this replaces whatever it is you give up. So that kind of, so that after the 40 days are over, there is a change. There is you have been transformed closer into a more loving, caring, Christ-like person. So that's what so I would just say that, just to put that out there for fasting. Sorry.
Well, no, beautiful, Gina, beautiful stuff. And what it reminds me of as a sports fan, or maybe I'm becoming a former sports fan with all of the shenanigans going on in the pro sports leagues and everything. But you think about when a team goes to training camp, they've been out of shape a little bit, so they start doing the wind sprints and lifting weights and the different other exercises and so forth, practicing running their routes or shooting baskets or whatever. When opening night comes and kickoff for the season comes, they don't stop doing those regimens. They do them all the more. This is supposed to be something that continues and makes you better and better and better. And I love, giving up things, chocolate and cookies and candy and your favorite food and stuff for Lent, Debbie. But, I think Gina's onto something here. We need to think about something that's going to, last beyond Lent and actually help shape our lives into being better and more and holier followers of Jesus.
Absolutely. Please, Gina, email us. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention today. We so appreciate it. And we believe in the power of prayer and fasting. So thank you for that, Gina. There is an open phone line if you'd like to share your news story that kind of, piqued your interest and you want to share it with the world. Now's the time to do it. Don't wait much longer at 833-288-3986. And, Jerry, I don't know if I did the promo, did I? I didn't. Oh, well, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
You can do it now.
Can I share one more story that just came in real fast?
Yeah, absolutely.
North Brunswick, New Jersey. This is right near where I grew up in New Jersey, North Brunswick. New Jersey federal judge's son was fatally shot and husband wounded in shooting. Apparently, the person showed up at their doorstep and was posing as a FedEx employee and shot their son Daniel, who's 20 years old, killed him, and the judge's husband is in a critical, I believe, condition. Here's something that you may not hear on the news. Apparently, Daniel, their son, was studying at a college, Catholic college. So I bet maybe they are Catholic as well. So please, we need to keep that family. And it's their only son, Jerry, and he was shot dead. Yeah. See, folks, they're looking for the person.
Yeah. What in the world could motivate somebody to do that? I don't know, but that's kind of the world that we're in right now. And this is what we're talking about on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, just frank conversations. And this program that we actually introduced about a month ago, things that are trending in the news, things that maybe you have heard about but you didn't see on the national news, maybe even your local news, but are somehow of interest to you and you think they might be to others. This gives us opportunities to pray, obviously, for that victim and his father right there. 833-288-3986 is the number. Michaeline is coming right up. Bob is next. Mary Lou, and we've got others on the line here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Dr. David Anders.
Our assurance of salvation is grounded in the objective word of promise from Christ, who said to the apostles, "Whoever sins you forgive are forgiven." Period. End of paragraph.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Hi, this is an EWTN bookmark brief. I'm Doug Keck. Just had the pleasure of speaking with the one and only Chris Stefanik about his latest work, I Am, Rewrite Your Name, Reroute Your Life. So what's the format of this book? How did you lay it out?
Very simple daily meditations to help you form a habit of speaking truth to yourself and replacing the lies. Mm-hmm. Video programs, the same thing. Short video meditations just to lead you through a process of renouncing the lies and accepting truths from sacred scripture.
And do you know what the web address is for the videos?
It's on reallifecatholic.com, and if you click on the coaching tab, or coaching.reallifecatholic.com will bring you right to it.
You'll get the videos along with also checking the book out through our EWTN religious catalog. Thank you, Chris. Chris Stefanik, look for his wonderful programs on EWTN as well. That's the title, I Am, Rewrite Your Name, Reroute Your Life, published by Real Life Catholic, available through our catalog, of course. And check it out there, and check us out next time. And thanks for stopping by this bookmark brief. Look for the entire interview coming soon on the network as well.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
I just wanted to thank you for your show. It's made such a huge difference in my faith life, because if you don't know why you're doing things and you're just going through the motions, it's totally pointless. But if you know why, it's infinitely meaningful. So you really helped me make a 180.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. We embrace the essence of feminine spirituality on Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Overlooked in the news, but not here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. So we want to hear what news stories caught your eye, and we'll talk about it and see what we can do as a body of believers. That's very important. We know that prayer and fasting works, absolutely, and also the Holy Mass. Holy Mass from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel every morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on EWTN Radio, and every 2 hours on EWTN Radio Essentials. The power of the sacrifice of the Holy Mass. Spiritual communion prayers, they're also very intensely powerful for your spiritual growth and to stay connected to the Eucharist. Very important. Okay, Jerry, we're getting a lot of text messages coming in. I guess that New Jersey story is all over the news, so that made it to the mainstream media. So here we go.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say thank God for Mass on EWTN television. I'm back to watching TV Mass in my diocese. Churches have been closed again. And Debbie, you and I have talked off the air. I suspect we're not going to see full opening of the churches until way into next year, if there's a vaccine. May or may not, when the Sunday obligation will be restored. is anybody's guess. I think it's going to be a long time from now. And in the meantime, Catholics, our brothers and sisters, are falling by the wayside, thinking, well, I don't have to go to church anymore. This is pretty convenient. I can watch it on TV, and just out of sight, out of mind, So I think we really, really need to pray for whatever circumstances need to come about for our churches to open up again, because it's really, really frustrating. Very much.
Speaking about our churches opening up, I believe it was a cathedral, Saints Peter and Paul in France. They're suspecting arson. It was severely burned, and they got the organ. I think it's like a 700-year-old organ, and some of the stained glass. A beautiful, beautiful cathedrals. Isn't it like do you consider it like a Gothic cathedral? Is that what they call it? The Gothic, that kind of form where it has all those images.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know architectural styles that well.
Yeah. Is that the right word? I hope it's the right word. Somebody correct me. Anyway, it was beautiful, but what a blaze it went up. I mean, and they're suspecting arson. So that as well. And then also real quickly, Michaeline, hold on. We just got 2 text messages coming in. So this is so sad. I guess apparently in New York City, law enforcement was telling folks to please only call the police when there was something really serious. If you can handle something amongst your neighbors, please do so. Kind of like this whole new thing. Anyway, this beautiful lady went downstairs, I guess, and talked to her neighbors because they were setting off fireworks, and it was dangerous, and instead they shot her to death. So they shot her multiple times and killed her. So that was not exactly good advice. And you know what? I just got to say this, folks. See, is that what we're going to when they say, have a social worker show up on the scene? Nothing against social workers. I love social workers, but you see, you don't know what you're encountering. And this fine lady went down just to offer some really good advice, saying, please don't do that. People could get hurt, and she was shot to death.
Very sad, very sad. It's changed the way we all behave, and it's continued to do that. All right, Michaeline, thank you very much for your patience in Virginia, listening on the EWTN app. You're a first-time caller to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Michaeline. How are you?
Hey, good. I just wanted to piggyback on to the first caller who spoke of the importance of fasting, and it's Matthew 17:21. And some strongholds can only be broken through prayer and fasting. And I like that the conversation went in the form of serious fasting, as in Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, because I think as Catholics we've been, in some ways conditioned to be like, anything you can give up is good. I mean, at this phase in where we are in the culture, where we are in America, where we are in the world, we have to dig in. We have to be really strong, faithful Catholics. And while everybody has to make their own decisions, I just want to impress upon people that we got to go the distance, and we got to dig in harder and stronger and sacrifice more than we ever did before in the line of prayer and fasting. Mm-hmm. And the news flash that I wanted to say is that President Trump came out and said that Christianity is under attack. But the USCCB did not say Christianity is under attack. And frankly, from my perspective, unless I'm missing something, and I could be missing something, there's not been much from the USCCB as churches are being burned, and maybe some statements here and there, but it really it doesn't seem like they're that invested in protecting our church and Christianity in general. It's been way too quiet, way too passive, except for Archbishop Vigano, who came out and said that we are in a spiritual battle between good and evil. And he put out a prayer, and he handed it off to Taylor Marshall, a prayer for America. And I encourage people to go check that out. He supports President Trump. Of course, we as Catholics know that we cannot support the party of death. And there's non-negotiables, and abortion is non-negotiable no matter what. So whether you like Trump or not is not the issue. It's policy, policy, policy. And we can't support anything that supports abortion. And at this point, the Democratic Party is funded by Planned Parenthood and by Marxism. And a lot of the chaos in the Democrat cities are taking place. People say, well, those politicians, don't they know better? No, they know exactly what they're doing, Americans. They're playing by the playbook to undermine this country and destroy it. So it's not like, oh, Mayor so-and-so doesn't know, Governor so-and-so. They know exactly what they're doing. Now, as Americans, we are the closest nation to Christianity, one nation under God. We were founded to be free, and it is for freedom that Christ set us free. We are not here at this time just because. God placed us here in America to stand up for Christianity and to live that out. Not to be passive, not to wait for like a cue from your priest or a cue from your bishop or a cue from any. If we know our faith, we know that we must fight the good fight. And if as America goes, so goes the world. So get a backbone, Catholics. Get a backbone and stand up for our faith and stand up for the truth. Do not hide. Stand up for the truth. Live the truth. Because when America goes down, famine starts, and a lot of people are looking for that to happen. We have great forces, satanic forces, Marxist forces, terrorist forces, all against us at one time. It is truly a battle between good and evil, and it is up to the Christians to really lead the way. So I'm just encouraging people to know that they have a part to play and to pray and to seriously fast, but also to fight the good fight.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, Michaeline, thank you for your comments there. And just my mind goes to Ephesians 6. You know, our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. And this is something that, definitely all of us, especially church leaders, pastors, bishops, and so forth, should not only be recognizing, but should be proclaiming loudly. And I also am drawn to Luke chapter 12, starting at about verse 49. Jesus says, I came to cast fire upon the earth, and would that it were already kindled. I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how I am constrained until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to give peace on earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. For henceforth in one house there will be 5 divided against 3. There will be 5 divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3, and they will be divided, father against son, son against father, and so forth. But starting about verse 54, he says, he also said to the multitudes, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you say at once, a shower is coming. And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, there will be scorching heat, and it happens. You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of earth and sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time? So, Debbie, it's important that we look at the goings-on in the present time, and as Michaeline is referencing, realize that this rises way above just a natural human-level battle that we're a part of.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, Michaeline, boy, you're so true to your name after St. Michael. I love that. I just wanted to say, we're getting text messages that were coming in pretty fast. Here's what they said about your take on everything that's happening. Good caller. Love this lady. This lady is spot on. Where in Virginia is she from? Everybody so you have a lot of kudos saying thank you for reinforcing some things that we all need to hear today, especially what you started off with in sharing about what Gina, our first caller, said about the prayer and intense fasting. It's the only way to break the strongholds. Michaeline, thank you. Keep on keeping on. That was a great call. It sparked a lot of interest, and you have a lot of new Take Two family friends. Right, Jerry?
Indeed. Thank you, Michaeline, for the call. We appreciate that. We're going to get along to, we've got many other calls to get to here on the program, talking about news stories that may not have been widely disseminated or reported on. Bob is in Troy, Michigan, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Bob. Welcome.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, folks. How are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
First of all, that lady was dead on her information. She took a lot of the information that I wanted to say as well. And so thank you for allowing her to speak. And but I want to just also remind a few things. You know, back in Caesar time, Nero, he accused the Christians for being cannibals because they were supposed to be eating the flesh of Jesus and Christ, and he was able to convince the people to turn against us, that we are nothing but animals, and then eventually burn Rome and blame it on the Christians. That's like fake media now these days of what's happening to the Christians. You know, there's so much is going to be attacked toward the Christians right now. It's unbelievable. I tell you this first. Don't be surprised one day, like I have a huge statue in front of my house and St. Francis of Assisi. Don't be surprised one day a governor will make an order, executive order says all statues need to be removed from the front of the house, is offending other people in the neighborhood. And we might have to remove Blessed Virgin from our house with a statue. And this is what's happening. When they're closing churches, is nothing but political, and leaving abortion clinics open and marijuana stores open and liquor stores open. It's nothing but a huge communism and underground. And John F. Kennedy warned us about this. There's a YouTube called John F. Kennedy, the last speech before he was killed. It would scare the heck out of me. He warned the world about it, and he was the only Catholic. President, and got his head, pretty much killed. He was inside the Democrat Party, and he was trying to convert it and change it, but they took him out. Allegedly, we don't know, but we know that was his last speech, and it was a very scary last speech. If anybody have time to listen to it, it's called the last John F. Kennedy words before speech before he was killed. But what I'm saying is that there is so much attack. Now, you said, what can we do about it? Two things that comes in my mind is that St. Paul says that keep an armor on you at all times. There's a war against flesh and blood. There's a connection I see to the verse where Jesus says to the apostles before he was being handed over, he says, won't you even spend an hour with me? Those two connections, I feel like things need to be done. Prayer is just not enough. I think people need to sit and gather their family member and talk to them and show them what's right and what's wrong and why this party is killing unborn babies, and work on your social media, because there's an attack on our churches. I'm telling you, the Catholic Church is the number one enemy to the communism. And they have to take us out. That's why they accuse us with child molesting. They accuse us with everything to scare our youth from when they're growing to think this is not a church for them, And they show us in the movies. There isn't an exorcist movie that they would show you that is an evil, made-up movie that it shows that it's always a Catholic priest or a Catholic church. So the Hollywood is having an attack on the Catholic Church, and the media is after us. Politics is after us. We are the number one because we're obedient to our Pope. And you know what? Even the popes, and Mother Teresa says, they said the nation that kills her own unborn is a nation without hope.
Right.
And if people...
Well, tell you what, Bob, just for the sake of time, a couple of thoughts. You mentioned, I believe you alluded to putting on the armor of God, and I'm not going to read that whole passage from St. Paul in Ephesians right now, but it's in Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. And if we put on the armor of God, as St. Paul explains there, and if we are in a state of grace, receiving the sacraments, God willing, when we can, a lot of us are unable to do that right now, but Debbie and I have a dear colleague in ministry, Adam Bly, who's a religious demonologist, and we talk to him about these things. What do we need to be worried? What should we be? He says, just if you're in a state of grace and you have a prayer life and you're in relationship with God and you're doing all the right things, praying, fasting, putting on the armor of God, ultimately there is nothing to worry about. Doesn't mean we're not going to take a punch or two here or there. We're going to be not going to be engaged in this battle on some level. We certainly are. And I believe that many holy, good, godly men and women are going to give their lives in the coming days and months and years for the faith. So good stuff, Bob. Great phone call. Debbie, what do you think?
Another great call, Bob. I'm monitoring our Jerry and Debbie Facebook page right now, and the messages are coming in really fast. So you guys are really having a lot to say. You really like this show, and you think it's necessary. So thank you for that. And Bob, we're getting some thanks to you, saying great call, and thank you for making us aware. Back to Michaeline, if you're still listening, many more messages are coming in saying thank you for speaking. Although we got to be fair and balanced. We got one message that came in and said they disagreed with a few things you said, Michaeline. But that's, you know what? We're all mature adults here. We can disagree, and so they disagreed with one thing that you said. But here's some good news, Bob, and everyone else that's listening right now. You want some good news? Here's some good news. You mentioned Hollywood. You mentioned, what's happening in movies. Antonio Sabato Jr. announces he's starting a conservative movie studio. Way to go, Antonio Sabato Jr. He's a great actor. And he just, you know what? We got to be praying for him because that's going to be a tough move to do. But with prayers, with God, all things are possible. And it sounds like he's got a good intention there. Thank you, Bob, so very much. That's some good news, right, Jerry? Amidst all the bad news that we've been receiving today.
I'll tell you what, anything good that can come out of Hollywood is definitely welcome news. So I'm glad you shared that.
Okay, thank you again, Bob. And Mary Lou, you're up next in Rochester, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Mary Lou. Welcome.
Hello, how's it going today? I've been listening to the radio station, and I would just like to tell Michaelina that everything she said, I am out there, I'm a foot soldier. So I am trying to inform everybody what's going on, and since this is, even before this started, I've been going out and giving communion to people that request communion. And I've been in Mass because we live stream our Mass from our church. And there are only 3 of us there, the priest, myself, the person that was doing the live streaming, and another person that sets up for Mass. So we were doing that. And now that we're going back to church, I'm going to a Latin Mass because I can receive communion on the tongue. So we do have a church that is doing that, but they have to have a special formula of water that they make through a machine. And each time the priest gives communion, he washes his fingers in that. Then he goes to the next, gives communion, then washes his fingers in that. So he does that with everybody that's there at church. But I will have to say that I've called myself a radical, but in the sense that I do ask priests a lot of questions. I do want to know what each one says, and sometimes they all say something different. However, they give different answers, but in the dogmas of the church and the teachings and everything, it should be the same answer. So I think that our priests and our bishops and our cardinals and even the Pope should come out and make a stand, because the folks that I take communion to are older and, they really don't know their Catholic faith. And I find that to be true with a lot of people that I speak with. That, they changed that. And I'm like, no, that hasn't been changed. Well, you don't have to fast. No, that hasn't been changed. So you see, there's not only, when I say ignorance of the faith, I mean they just don't know. Mm-hmm. And also when you watch Mass on television, it isn't a substitute for the Mass. So you're like watching a live television program. And people don't know this, but they know that they can't get out. I'll get to the news item. Mm-hmm. Our governor, the governor, has threatened to close down bars and restaurants because he said there are too many young people gathering outside. And he said if the local government does not go in and disperse them, then that will force him. So he's saying he will have to do this if you don't do this. However, in New York City, we just had an incident, and he doesn't say to the mayor, local government, you enforce this or I will have to do this. So it's like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. And then we had in Rochester, just not too far from where I live, a lady crashed her car because she was driving down the street and someone shot her.
Oh.
So it was just they don't know. They think they have a suspect, but they don't know. And over the weekend, we had, I don't know how many hundreds, 200 or 300 people try to block off 490. Well, that's a large gathering. So we all know there's a double standard.
Mary,
that's all
well, no, thank you very much. Another great a great call, and Mary Lou, lots of folks are weighing in on your call right now, saying thank you for sharing what you had to share today. But I just wanted to say real quickly about catechesis. I couldn't agree with you more. With this pandemic and everything that's happened, we need a really solid catechesis now more than ever. And thank goodness we have Catholic radio. And I would encourage anyone listening, please, if you're streaming conferences or gatherings or meetings or the Mass, please, get in some really sound catechesis, because everybody needs it right now. Couldn't agree with you more. And Mary Lou, I just wanted to say you'll be proud of this. There were several priests this weekend. I was very proud of them. I don't know where they're from, actually, because I didn't follow, but they're friends of mine on Facebook. And they posted pictures of an empty church. And then there was another picture in the middle of it of a crowded plane, because apparently you can now fly with the middle seats now being filled or whatever. And they had a crowded plane. And they said, what's wrong with this picture? And a lot of priests posted that this weekend. So, I think my heart's telling me that folks are really starting to look at this with eyes wide open and realize what's happening and start to make the necessary prayer and fasting adjustments in their spiritual life, and also make the necessary calls or whatever they need to do to have their voices heard in their local communities. And I think that's very healthy. Mary Lou, thank you so very much. What do you think, Jerry? Did you see that picture I sent you with the picture?
I did, yes, thank you. And it just makes me think, what you were just saying there makes me think, well, maybe the frog in the kettle of water does still have enough of his wits about him to jump out before it gets too hot. We shall see. Dr. Ray Guarendi is up next here on EWTN, many of these same stations, and he takes calls and talks about family, marriage, and relationships with his great insights and his wonderful wit and wisdom. The doctor is in weekdays at, that would be 1 o'clock Eastern time here on most of these same EWTN stations.
We're getting a lot of messages saying, can we do this show every day? I don't know if we can handle it every day, but we'll try to do it once a month. Okay, Kathleen, we got to go real quickly. We don't want to leave you hanging on the line from Toledo, Ohio, listening on Annunciation Radio. You have about 90 seconds, Kathleen. Welcome.
I have an email from John Horvat, who wrote a book, Return to Order, and he is asking people to sign a petition against a blasphemous film being produced by Elevated Films with Paris Jackson, who is a daughter of Michael Jackson, playing the bisexual, gender-bending Christ with a nose ring. The movie's called Habit, and if you want to sign the petition, it's you go to Return to Order at pfp.org. It is a blasphemous movie.
It sure is. Kathleen, it's also circulating on social media, just to let you know. That's why I was nodding to Jerry, saying I've already seen it. I saw the pictures. It just breaks my heart that Michael Jackson's daughter would be a part of this. I couldn't agree more. And so that's the good news of that it is getting out there on social media. Good use of social media, right, Jerry?
Yes, it is. I'm trying to find, and I'm not going to find it here in time before the close of the show, one of the passages in Scripture where demons recognize who Jesus is and that he was God. You see, the world, the devil, they know who the target is, okay? Their target is Jesus Christ, his body, the church, and individual Christians and collectively Christians. So we've got our work cut out for us. Let's all fight like men and women and get on our knees. That's my suggestion to end the show.
Couldn't agree more. We're talking about praying tomorrow, and if you've ever fallen asleep because you've just been so relaxed and you just kind of drift off to sleep, do you feel okay about that? Let's talk about it tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.
Dr. Ray Guarendi, making